introduction.
Hi guys, Antony and I here from the Trades Training School. Today we're going to be covering siliconing, do's and don'ts, and how to create that perfect finish. Let's get cracking. Alright guys, here we go then, siliconing. You're going to need some good quality silicone gun, silicone profiler, a cup of water with a dash of fairy liquid in it, some toilet paper and a toilet tube. First thing you want to do guys is make sure that everything is absolutely immaculate, swept out, hoovered out, and as you can see what I'm doing here is I'm wiping all the areas that I'm going to silicone with an alcohol wipe, just to make sure there's no contaminants whatsoever, nothing that's going to affect the silicone from sticking to that area. At this stage of any job I'm usually wear clean clothes as well, so bits of adhesive aren't dropping off your trousers, etc. As you can see there, I'm cutting the end of the nozzle off at a 45-degree angle. Depending on the size of your gaps, if you have large gaps in the room that you want to fill, right, then what you want to do is you want to silicone all the room, and then at the end you want to cut your nozzle off to a greater depth so you can catch the bigger gaps at the end. And really the key to siliconing guys is a nice steady flow, making sure that you create a steady, consistent movement with the silicone gun, so you're getting an even flow of silicone coming out of the tube. If you are not consistent and smooth, and you've got like big amounts of silicone coming out in one area and then not enough in another, it just ends up being a little bit raggedy. If you don't get enough silicone in the joints, then you won't be able to profile it as well, so you've got to make sure you get the right amount of silicone in the joint as well. Also notice guys how I press the stop button on the back of the silicone gun every now and again when you stop siliconing. If you don't do that, then the silicone's going to continue to come out of the tube. Also make sure when you do your tiling jobs that you don't grout your stress gaps. So obviously everything we tile up against will leave a 3mm gap, and if you grout those, then your silicone will not last long, because your grout will possibly crack and then your silicone will come away anyway. Now your fairy liquid water mix is a ratio, I would say, of maybe 5 to 1. One dash of fairy liquid to 5 dashes of water. And what this basically does is it creates like a soapy sort of oily texture on your finger, so that when you run your finger along the silicone it doesn't drag, and it creates a nice smooth finish. Now you see some people, what they'll do is they'll lick the end of the finger and then run it down the silicone. That's probably one of the worst things you can do, because it makes it go mouldy very quickly. You think of all the germs that are in your mouth, so you definitely don't want to be doing that. Also note that I'm putting the excess into the top of the toilet tube, and this is a great little thing to do because it just filters down, so you don't have to go through loads and loads of toilet tissue. And there I am, just finishing off the joints with the fairy liquid solution. The profilers that we're using in this video, we're using the Carla Dam set, which comes in a pack, and I think you get 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you get 12 different profiles. That is the best set I've ever used, actually. And the other one that I also use, which is just a singular profile, is the Ruby Profiler, which you can pick up in most tile shops for about just under a £5. So 2 decent bits of kit there you can pick up pretty much on the cheap. And what the profiler does, it makes all the silicon lines consistent, the same depth. Imagine if you did it with just your finger all the way around the room, you would have lots of different depths, wouldn't you? So going around the toilet then, once again, keeping the nozzle at a consistent 45 degrees. You've got to be careful when you're running the nozzle round that you keep it at the correct angle. You don't want to be keeping it head on with the pointing into the corner, because it just drags the silicone back out. There'll be fairy liquid on the finger, and I just gently run it round just to force the silicone around the area. Now I've had to put it on quite thick as the gaps were a little bit big around this toilet. Larger than desired anyway, let's say that. And using the profiler, you just want to hold the profiler tight to the floor or the wall and just pull around. Good pressure. If you find some of the silicone streaks up the wall or onto the floor, then you can just simply get that off by running the profiler in the other direction. Some guys actually use a fairy liquid bottle, and they will squirt like a fairy liquid mist around the area when they're doing this, which I've got nothing against, honestly, to be honest, but I've just never done it. And what they say that does is it makes it easier to come off certain areas. It doesn't stick. You can see that I'm every time I get a lump or a blob of silicone on the profiler, I actually just take it off with the toilet roll holder, which is a handy tip. The actual silicone that you use is also important. You want to make sure that it's a good grade silicone. Don't go using your cheap £2 bottles that you can pick up in some places. That just will not do the job, especially in wet areas where you're going to get a lot of moisture, etc. Those silicones will mould after a couple of months. So the silicones that we use as tilers are brand silicones from Ball Adhesives, Mapai, Weber, depending what product you're using. For instance, if you're using Mapai Jasmine, then you're going to use the colour match silicone because it matches the colour of the grout perfectly. Okay, same if you're using like a Ball White, you want to use the Ball White silicone. It makes sense. And these silicones are anti-mold properties added to them, so they'll last a long time, and they're designed to be put into wet areas as well. So the quality. So going through the process, apply the silicone, dip your finger in the fairy liquid solution, very gently run it round just to impress it into the area, profile, and then to finish off, finger in the fairy liquid water solution one more time and very gently just run it round. No pressure needed on that, but you're just very gently running it. Here's a quick clip, guys, just to show you how to create the indents on internal corners. So just working from the corner out with your silicone, making sure that you get good coverage into the joints. It's worth pointing out at this stage as well, guys, when you are doing your silicone and you want to create the bead in a wanna. So for instance, if I was doing a shower area, I'd go right down the internal wall into the corner of the shower and then along both sides of the shower, and then I would profile that area. You want to work in a quick manner so that the silicone does not skin over, because once it skins, it's an absolute nightmare. You've got to rip it out and start again. Another thing you've got to be careful of is cross-contamination of fairy liquid. So you don't want to start a joint, fairy liquid it, and then try and join onto that, because the fairy liquid will it'll prevent the silicone from bonding against itself. So there I go, making my indents ready to silicone out with my profiler. So this is a job we recently completed, and there's the ruby silicone profiler and a little dish with the fairy liquid water solution. And as you can see, we've achieved nice, even, smooth silicone joints. For this we used the BAL range of grey silicone and grey grout, so we've got a nice colour match. One thing I'd like to point out, guys, that I didn't mention earlier is when you are working with silicone, try to resist the temptation to wipe silicone on your trousers, because you'll just transfer it to every section of the bathroom. You'll find it on the sanitary ware, etc. You want somebody giving you a couple of squares of toilet paper every now and again. My ragman is actually in Russia at the moment. Big shout out to Matty McHale, who's out with Boxing Scotland. Hope you enjoyed the vid, guys.
So there we go then. I hope that video was helpful for you. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. If there's any videos you want to see, please let us know in the comments box. Cheers, guys.